actually going to have a dual speaker series here. We're going to have Mr. Steve Farmer come up. He's going to tell us a little bit about his history with the public administrator role. We mentioned last month with his retirement, he spent a lot of time. How many years did you spend with public administration?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years there. You know, a long history of service to the country and to the county. So we're obviously sad to see you go, but love to watch you leave kind of deal. We're glad that you're going off into retirement and hope you enjoy yourself. Hope you don't forget about us little people on your retirement. But I'm going to go ahead and have you come up and get us started, I think. And then Tracey, did you guys speak? Are you gonna be doing this together, or are you gonna have Steve talk and then you're gonna kind of come up and talk about where you see the public administrator role going forward?
Steve can start and then I'll come up.
Perfect. All right, so please, round of applause for Mr. Steve Farmer.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Steve Farmer. I'm the Jefferson County Public Administrator. I've served in that role for a little over 10 years now. For those who don't know, what we do in a nutshell is we serve as substitute decision makers for people who've been declared incapacitated or disabled by the probate courts. We also take care of decedent estates when people die intestate, which means without a will. I like to tell people we have the most important job that nobody knows about until they need us. So it's been my honor and my privilege to serve the people of Jefferson County for over 10 years. We've accomplished a great deal during my tenure, and it is something that is a team effort always. There's so many people that I would love to thank, but it would be a long list. And some of you are in this room who have helped me, along with the grace that I've received from God, to do this job and to be blessed to do it for everyone, and especially for the most vulnerable in our community. So we've come a long ways in 10 years. We have transitioned to digital file sharing along with the circuit court. We have also increased our staffing thanks to the county council. We have made a lot of positive changes to the office that have really helped us to be more efficient. I still would like to see the state add some funding to our office so that they have more buy-in into our office and are taking a close look at the cases that they assign to us because we remain understaffed for the caseload that we carry. I am very proud that Dennis Gannon, the county executive, appointed Ms. Tracey Perry. I believe that she has the skill sets and the lived experience, the knowledge and the training to do a great job as the public administrator. And she's going to be shadowing me for the next week for a few days. And I know that she will do a good job, but she will also need the support of people in the community. And I hope and pray that you will give her that support because it's a very important job. And we need people to, like I said, to support her and not just criticize. Does anybody have any questions for me? Easy crowd. All right. Well,
Yeah,
then.
I got a question for you, just
Sure.
to see if I can prime the pump a little bit here. What does retirement hold for you? Do you have a boat?
No, I don't have a boat, but I do have a Harley, so I'll be riding my Harley quite a bit. And I'm also going to be spending more time with my family. That's the main thing that has caused me to retire early, is I have some family members that are having some health issues, especially my daughter, and I want to be able to spend more time with them. And so that's about it, really,
Lovely.
for me. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Steve? Man, they are easy on you.
Yeah.
Early retirement. Yeah.
So I'd like to introduce Ms. What's that? Did you have a question? What? Oh, okay. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Tracey Perry.
It's hot. Did I say anything you don't want
Oh. So first of all, it's not really a filler, but I do want to thank you, the executive team, for inviting me to speak. It's a great experience, and I'm really happy that you do that. And I want to thank Mr. Farmer for his support and his recommendations and his continuing service as well. And I know Mr. Gannon isn't here, but I do appreciate his trust and commitment and believing in me to make this appointment. So I do want to put that out there. I do know some of you out there, but for those that don't, I do like to talk, but not necessarily in this capacity. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. As Steve had mentioned, he feels that I am competent for the position to carry over. I started out a long time ago. Right out of high school, I went off to the military. I didn't have money for college and stuff, so I joined the military, and I was an old teletype operator. And I don't know if I know we have several military people out there. And a short story behind that: my husband went to a business meeting out in New Mexico, and he went to a museum, and he saw an old teletype machine, and he said, "Look, you're in a museum." And I said, "Well, you're not coming home anytime soon, are you?" So that tells you how far back that was. So I did that for about 8 years, and then I was accepted to the University of South Florida's ROTC program. So I went back and I earned my undergraduate degree in social work, and I got my commission as a second lieutenant. And at that time, I asked for an educational delay. I thought, well, I wanted to go into social work, and I wanted to continue to get my master's. So again, if any of you are in the military, no, you don't get what you want. So they said, no, you're going to Korea and you're going to be in the ordnance office. I said, oh, okay. So I blew up a bunch of stuff and I was an ammunitions officer, and then I was in charge of mechanics. So nothing to do with social work, but that's okay. You don't put your eggs in the same basket. So I thought at the time that it was, I'm like, peculiar, and you don't really necessarily get to make the choices that you have, but it really is where you're supposed to be. I learned a lot. I was a platoon leader, I was a commander, I was in charge of troops, and even though that was my job in those fields, I was really responsible for soldiers. And those soldiers needed me holistically, not just for how to do a job, but to really kind of make sure I protected them and saved their lives. So I did that for a while, and then I became when I became a field grade officer, when I retired as a major. I spent my last duty station actually at the Missouri National Guard in Jeff City. I was the commander of the Maintenance Control Center there. So we had 5 regional states that came in and did all the MOSs, or the jobs for the Ordnance Corps. And I had previously been through, Enduring Freedom. I was deployed multiple times when my children were young. And at that time in 2007, I said, well, I put my 22 years in, and it was time for me to concentrate on my family. So that's what brings me to Jefferson County. So I had multiple choices to go to anywhere I wanted to. My family was all over the place, and my husband was already working in Jefferson County, and we thought it was beautiful. We really chose Jefferson County to stay. And we loved the people, we loved Missouri, so it's been 20 years now since I've been here, and we raised our children here, and they went to school here, and we're here to stay. And during my tenure, after I retired, I started working for Jefferson Memorial Hospital. I was a discharge planner and a social worker there, and I did that for about 5 years while I continued to stay involved in the community. And at that point, when I was working at the hospital, is where I started encountering the public administrator's office. So I did work with and Bruce King and Mark DeClue, and then when Steve came in on board, we had to do a lot of emergency guardianships. We had to do a lot of paupers' funerals, and just different things that people don't think about, and that some hard decisions you had to make for people that couldn't make those decisions for themselves. And that's when I really got involved in meeting and doing a lot of things for the community and a lot of groups. I transitioned to a long-term care facility after about 5 years, and I was a social service director up until last year of a 150-bed facility. And in that 150-bed facilities, again, where we take care of the most vulnerable personal population that we have, and doing whatever we can to meet their needs on a clinical level. I did a lot of clinical stuff with them. So then, which brings us to today, I've done a lot of political things on the side. I've been on county council, I've been on the school boards, I've kind of stayed involved in different areas in addition to my full-time positions, just to stay and make my community better. I've always had a passion for social work, and when I found out that Steve was going to be stepping down and retiring early. I was the first one on speed dial. I really wanted, the opportunity to serve, and I felt that I had the right tools to do it, because I feel that I've been able to advocate my voice to those that can't, and I really enjoy the legislative part. So I know Steve is very humbled and didn't say a lot of what he did personally too, not just for the department, but he had spent a lot of time at the legislative level making like the Medicaid, yes, the limits for the Medicaid, and just advocating on that. And I am ready to do that as well and take it, just pick up where he left off to try to make things better for our residents here. So that's in a nutshell, and I'm very passionate, and I'm very much ready for the position, and I just appreciate everybody. And I do want to spend a special thanks to Mr. Ron Sutton over there, which I hope he's not bashful, but he has, he didn't even know it, so he has been such inspiration to me on a time that I had a hard time, and I truly believe that he was placed in my life to help me with prayer and guidance and in spiritual sense, and I just really appreciate him being here tonight too. So, and I'll take your questions.
You resigned from the council?
I did.
And there were rumors, there were statements, there was charges made. How do you respond to those people that said you were out of your district and made important votes?
Okay, so as a lot of people know, if they were in that position, in any kind of position like that, there's a lot of tough decisions that you have to make. I actually downsized my house. I sold my house, but I moved into an apartment, and until I was finding a new location. That was right after 2020, and I was also purchasing land to try to build a home, or I was all over the place trying to find something. Every time you go to get a house, somebody else buys it before you. So I actually had an apartment, and in that time I did find a lake house that I was renovating. So I actually had that lake house, and some people, a few selected people, they knew that I was on the council and I was making decisions that I felt that were appropriate for planning and zoning, and they didn't want it to happen, so everybody was looking for reasons for me to be able to get off the board. So that's where the story was behind that. So I actually moved out of the district. My only mistake was that I was trying to follow the law because my driver's license expired, and I put my new address that I was eventually going to move into. So I still had my apartment, and then I had this other house that I changed. So they said, as soon as you change your address, it automatically changes you as a permanent address. And then I said, okay, well, if that's the case, I'll step down, and I can't finish out my term. I had every intention to, and everybody knew I was moving. So that's where the story was behind that.
What's your actual views about anything?
That's pretty broad.
So
I'm.
what's your actual views on everything?
I know who you're married to. I know how many kids you have.
So I am a through and through conservative Republican. I always have been. I know it's really strange to be military, Republican, social worker. I know. But I'm very passionate because of where I grew up, and I just felt a calling, to that profession. I actually did 4 years of college that took me 10 years because I was working full time. And in my senior year, I was going to get a business degree. I had to get a couple classes, and I was looking through it, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And they were all social work classes. So I ended up spending 2 more years doing something in that, and I've always enjoyed doing it. And more on a policy level, administrative level, but always advocating for people. So I'm extremely conservative. I'm 2A, all 100%. I was actually the one that introduced a bill to be a 2A sanctuary for Jefferson County when I was in the council. I am pro-growth, very much pro-growth, as long as it's in the limits. I feel that we, on the council, that's one thing I didn't get a chance to do is help with restructuring the UDO, because I think that's where our problems were. People were saying, well, they got more density, we got this, we got that, and we're all saying no and yes, and there's so much controversy. Well, we really needed to concentrate on sitting down with the UDO and changing it and working on the master plan. So that I was working towards that. It just, it's a big process. So I'm very conservative.
I
that you have right now, and that you're moving on to, what do you think your biggest strength that you can contribute to the office is, and what do you think maybe the part where you need a little bit more work?
So my biggest strength is I've got 20 years worth of networking experience in this field in Jefferson County alone. I work side by side with all these nursing home administrators, the RCFs. I was on countless boards like Project COPE and things like that to help people. So I have working hand in hand with medical directors, and I know the way it works in case I need emergency medical, and I have a really good working relationship with all the mental health facilities and the psychiatrists that come in. I did all that clinical stuff, so I think that's a really broad spectrum. And a big part of the job is to take care of people and do like care planning and making sure you holistically take care of that person. So I do that already. So like the deputies will come to the nursing homes, and I'm sitting in there, and we're working collaboratively with a multidisciplinary team to make sure that they get the best health care that they need, mental health care, placements. So I'm already involved with that, and I have been for 20 years. So that's the big portion that I can just kind of walk into it, and the transition will be extremely easy for me. The other part is I'm not as strong as the probate side, but I can learn that. That's not my strong point because I haven't been as involved. I've only been involved with like hospice and helping with the families and helping them get to the public administrators. So.
Mr. Warren County, did you have another question? I saw your hand up.
I did. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I'm an open book.
The fire over here. Not at all. I'm just, so besides saying no, what policy would you like to see implemented in your given field that you would think would be advantageous for us as a party, as a culture, as a society?
Oh, I think we should strive for drug testing for social welfare programs, get people off of social welfare programs and then offer better educational and vocational programs if they're on social welfare, any kind of social welfare programs, from WIC to Medicaid to anything. If they're not legally disabled and they can't work, so they should be drug tested. And I know that's an expense to that, and that needs to be brainstormed and vetted. But there's a lot of other states that do it already. So that's one thing that I'd be pretty passionate about. And then another thing, which I'm not sure, I'm not saying if they did it or not. I know there was one occasion where, I've been in this nursing home for 11 years, and I have also the wards, some of the wards that actually are under his care that I've been taking care of for 10 years. There was one ward that came in, and I had some issues, but we rehabilitated her. We got her the sources that she needed. She became independent, and we actually worked with the department to take her away from guardianship. So she got her independence, and I think we should be able to look a little bit more at that to get people away from government's help.
Now, your position, correct me, you're supposed to be acting in the best interest of your wards, correct?
Correct.
So it's not necessarily a political party platform thing that you should be worrying about as public administrator.
No, it shouldn't be, absolutely, just like judges. So I think it shouldn't be, but it is an elected position, and it is, that is.
Thank you, Jeremy.
However, I think it's important too to look at that. If more on the spectrum side of being conservative and being Republican, we have millions of dollars that we're responsible for. And we have to make sure that we are fiscally responsible for the wards and, and the estates of people.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you because I get what you're talking about. It's very interesting that people are so worried about you following a party platform when your job is to look after the best interests of the people that you're in charge of. That's ultimately your job, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, because that's what your job is.
Correct.
Now, obviously, we're all conservatives or we wouldn't be here. So I just find it interesting that people that don't live in this county are asking these questions of you and trying to.
That's okay. I'm okay with it. But it is like a fiscal. There is a big portion of that fiscal. So you might have someone that might be a little bit on the left side or a lot on the left side that want everybody on there. And my ideal is to get people away from social welfare. So you might have someone on the left side that thinks that it's important to give them a 60-inch screen TV for their little room and spend their money on it when they need a burial plot. So, I mean, I can see where you want someone more conservative, but I understand your point.
I'd also like to say that I echo what she said, and it's something that's always been a priority for me, is for us to find ways to keep people out of plenary guardianships. It keeps them off of the government benefits, but it keeps them independent as much as they can within their capacity. There are a lot of alternatives that we can offer to people so that they don't come under guardianship and they don't lose a lot of their rights, as long as they have the capacity for that.
And I think we're more and more working towards, it's somebody else's problem. And I can even see it in the last 10 years in the nursing homes that, especially since COVID happened, there's less and less workers, and nobody has any tolerance or patience anymore to work with people. So they just want to lock them up or give them a 72-hour, put them in psych, and then or drug problems. We have so many drug problems. Let's put them as a guardian. Let's get them guardianship, and then have the public administrator take over because they got drug problems. And I just don't think that's necessary.
Your job, of course, is to serve your community. But how will you serve that community? What does that mean? When national policy, when political policy comes to your doorstep, how will you handle it? And that's where my question comes in. Because the world around you is not going to just ignore it just because you just want to focus on business. All right? So when that comes to your doorstep, how will you react to it?
That's okay.
Understand the question?
Yep, I think I do. I think I understand. Let me reiterate that. You're feeling that I can't just focus on what the job is and taking care of people, that I need to know how my position is of value to the Republican Party and to society. So I think I've already answered that as far as maybe being fiscally responsible and helping people get off of social welfare. I think that's a huge thing. And it's not as easy as it is because we have people with Down syndrome and people that don't have anybody that really needs help. So helping them and getting them the resources they need in the best efficient way and humane way possible is going to alleviate a lot of things that the other rest of the population doesn't have to do. So that's how I can serve my country, or serve my county and my country.
Sudden.
I just would like to say I'm confident because Steve Farmer is in your corner, and Dennis Gannon had several candidates to consider, and I think he made the choice, not along political lines, but on what he thought would be the best possible replacement for somebody like Steve Farmer. And I think that you've demonstrated that you're competent and capable and passionate. I'm intrigued by your military background and then your social work. I think it's an ideal combination for the position because I know enough about you to know that you really care about people, and you're not going to be making decisions concerning people's welfare based on whether they're Republican or Democrat or what the politics are. But you're going to make decisions because you truly care about people. And I know that. And but I like the idea too that hearing your military background, I didn't realize all that. But I'm kind of intrigued by it. I thought this is somebody who not only cares about people, but it's going to be like a Steve Farmer who, when necessary, will fight for people and fight for their rights and do the best they can do by them. And I think we'll all be served well because of having somebody like you there.
Well,
so
thank you. I
that's not a
appreciate that.
question. I just want to say that out loud.
Can you phrase it in a question?
I appreciate that. I do feel that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, please don't mix those two up.
I know. I do feel that, we all do think we have choices, but I think we do have choices, but we end up where we're supposed to be. And along the way, we're just given the tools, and that my military career is able to give me the tools to be able to do my job effectively. The leadership, the administrative, the fiscal responsibility, and the compassion. And not only that, when you, like for example, I was the officer in charge of emergency operations for nuclear security for the nuclear power plants and for the airport right after 9/11. You can't stress out and not make those decisions. They're life decisions that you have to make for people. So just as in the public administrator's office, as Steve had said, he had an emergency in his first week that he was there, that he had to make a decision to pull a plug from somebody that was in the hospital. This is things that you have to have your group of people that you can rely on. You have to have your medical professionals, and you have to have the ability to be able to think outside of emotion and be able to do what needs to be done and what's right for the person. So.
Mr. Good.
I just want to, give an example of one place where, like Steve, where when you look at, conservative thought processes, where Steve made a big difference. When Steve came in, since he's been in office, the county's only paid for what, Steve, 1 or maybe 2 burials of people that are under care.
Yeah, probably less than a hand, like 2 or 3 maybe.
And,
Yeah.
he sought out ways to pre-fund those funerals for these people so that our tax dollars weren't county taxpayers weren't doing it. Sometimes it was, whether it be tax refunds or whatever, he was trying to be as fiscally responsible to the voters and to his wards as he could, and he's done an excellent job of that. That's one area where that has really played in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. When I first came into office, we were doing quite a few pauper burials, and a lot of people don't know that that's on the county taxpayers. They have to pay for those pauper burials. So we immediately started a program where we were setting up people with a prepaid burial plan almost as soon as we got them. And the few people that we ended up having to do pauper burials on were people who were at the hospital and they were already in critical condition, and the hospital just needed us to make final decisions for them. So they were already well on their way to passing away.
And for those of you that don't know what a pauper's funeral is, somebody doesn't have any money or family, and you're buried in like an unmarked grave. Nobody needs to be like that. So, and with that, off of that, I have a lot of connections with the nursing homes and with a lot of the resources in Jefferson County. And we already grouped together to, as soon as somebody comes in there on a permanent basis, that's the first thing that we're making sure that we do diligent searches for their family members or anybody that might be able to help them, to try to get them as much support as possible and make sure that they got things set up, because it's not always easy before they even get to Steve,
All right. No further questions? Bob, right under the wire.
Just a couple of constructive comments. First of all, congratulations on your appointment to replace Steve. He's going to be sorely missed.
Thank you, Bob.
You did the county a great service. I would disagree with a couple of the comments about this having little to do with Republican. This is a Republican club, and that office is serving a Republican role. Since you're no longer as a member of the county council for just a little over a year, I don't remember seeing you at any of the Republican club meetings, any of the council meetings.
That's okay.
What's happened?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes there was a small group of people that was in this Republican club that were not very friendly, so why would you go someplace where you're not wanted?
Well, you're still a public officer.
No, I wasn't.
You were a public officer.
Yes,
Now you're
but
a public officer again.
I'm not going to contribute my time and energy into something that doesn't want my time and energy. So I put it elsewhere. I have other conservative club meetings, and I have other areas that I go that I try to focus my time for someone. So, now it's restructured. I love the organization. I love the officers, and I am happy to be back.
Are you going to pledge to be more involved with the Republican Club? Henceforth?
Not to be offensive, but you really don't know how involved I am already. Just because I'm not here. I am very involved.
And thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you so much. If you want to leave that with Billy.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.